All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. First off, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me this morning. Thank you especially to those that made the hike over here from the other building. I know it's like basically going to another dimension as soon as you step outside, so appreciate that. We'll start off with a quick introduction. My name is Larry Jin, and I am a program manager for Microsoft Teams. I've been working on the product for close to 3 years now, actually, and believe me when I say it's gone through a lot, including many rebrands that you guys probably don't know about. And I've been working on platform and extensibility the whole time. And so this session, we're going to be talking all about building apps for Teams. You might have joined a previous session yesterday where a couple of my colleagues, Andy and Jace, talked about apps and kind of the overall business value and why you want to care about apps in Teams. In this session, we're going to be going into a little bit more detail about how you can actually get started building an app and connecting various services and pieces to bring these into Teams. Before we get started, just I want to kind of gauge the audience a little bit. How many in here would consider themselves to be non-developers? Okay, pretty good handful. How many people here have built an app for Teams, any kind of app integration? Okay, small number of folks, so I think this will be new to a lot of people. Last question, how many people here are hungover from all the after parties yesterday? All right, so we've got a few of you. I see you guys here. So today's session, I think covered it earlier. You're going to be learning about the Teams platform capabilities and the opportunities. And I know a lot of you guys in here are not developers, but what you're going to see is that there's a lot of opportunity that doesn't necessarily involve, really kind of heavyweight traditional open up Visual Studio and crank out tons of code. There's a lot of opportunities to connect your existing investments, whether it's SharePoint or Graph, and bring that into Teams and deliver that to your end users. You're going to see some end-to-end examples of how we bring these capabilities together with bots and tabs and other extensions. We're also going to talk about what's new. So a number of cool new capabilities and features that we are announcing at Ignite this year for the Microsoft Teams developer platform. And really we want you guys to walk away with just an understanding of the opportunities and hopefully check out our documentation, check out our website to learn more about the Teams developer platform. So in the overview session yesterday, this was covered, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but really the main point that I want to land is when we think about Microsoft Teams as a product, some of you may be in the piloting phase, some of your organizations may be broadly rolling this out, but really we want to make sure that we hit the point home that Teams is really not just about communication with chat and calling and meetings and voice, files, but really it is a flexible, customizable, and extensible workspace for your team. So whether that means bringing in your line of business tools, task management, recruiting, expense approvals, all the different activities and processes and workflows that your end users need to get their work done, the platform is all about enabling you to go bring all those tools, services, and content into Teams. And so going a level deeper into, what does this actually mean? What does it mean to build an app? What are the capabilities? So when we think about the platform, these are kind of the high-level capabilities or features, right? So some of you may be familiar in just using Teams with some of these concepts already, like tabs, the ability to collaborate around content and pin content in Teams and channels, and soon actually in group chats as well. With chat bots, we have a number of bots that are already in the product. Some of you may be curious about building one. Maybe you have some experience with Azure bot services or the bot framework. And so we'll be talking about how you can bring that in and connect that into Teams. We have messaging extensions, which is very similar to kind of the Giphy experience. You can actually integrate your custom service and do search. And we actually have some enhancements that I'll be showing later in that space. The ability to plug into notifications, whether you're pumping notifications into channels, whether you're ringing the activity feed, just the ability to drive engagement and alerting through notifications and feed. Adaptive cards for the developers in the audience. You guys have probably heard a lot about this at Build, where we talked about this ability to create rich, interactive, flexible card content through your bot or through your messaging extension using this standard called adaptive cards, which is actually across Microsoft. So you're actually creating the same JSON, and that JSON is rendered in a consistent way across not only Teams, but also Outlook and Windows and some of the other Microsoft endpoints. New this year at Ignite, we're launching the voice and video and the communications platform via Graph to developer preview. So this is a really big deal. I'm going to spend a little bit of time about this, and we actually have a breakout session this afternoon that goes into substantially more detail. But this is a huge opportunity, especially for those that have worked in the UC space, UC as a platform space in the past. Maybe you've built, call center solutions. Maybe you've built various media calling sort of bot-like services. This is now the opportunity to bring some of those forward into Microsoft Teams. So we're really, really excited about that. And then sort of underpinning all of this, of course, is the Microsoft Graph. So you think about the graph in a few different ways. It is, the unified entry point into Microsoft 365 data, be it files, conversations, emails, people, groups. But we want to make sure that we put Teams content into the graph as well. So we have a number of APIs that are available in beta, and we have some new APIs that are also available, and I'm going to be showing how you can take advantage of those APIs to automate teamwork in the overall lifecycle. Now, on the right-hand side here, I'll be showing later, once you build your app, once you have this package together, we have some distribution and management options. So whether you're publishing it into the store because you're a commercial ISV and you want to make money off of your offering, that's something that we enable as one path. We also enable you to publish and distribute that app just to your organization through what's called the tenant app catalog. So if you want to lock that experience down to a specific set of users within your organization, and then to be able to govern and manage policy around that, we're going to be talking about where we're headed in that direction. So going into what it means to build an app, this is kind of the sort of 5-step journey that I talk about a lot with our partners and customers. So the first is kind of getting started, and as we go through it, I'll show some examples, I'll show some demos and some snippets. The first is really thinking about what kind of app do you want to build. So we have a tool called App Studio that actually helps you define and package that. And so really you want to start with what's the scenario that I want to go implement, what are the capabilities that I want to use, whether it's a bot or a tab, and then think about how you can start bringing that together. The second is connecting your service. So we're going to be talking about how you can take an existing web application, an existing bot, even your SharePoint investments, bringing those into your Teams app as well. Thirdly, we're going to be talking about how you can then take your app that you've built and you can use that to automate teamwork. And what I mean by that is, as you think about the team lifecycle, right? So people spin up teams, they provision them, they add people, they add channels. That team then, people collaborate over time, and at some point, it may reach the end of its life cycle, at which point maybe you want to archive it, maybe you want to read all the conversations out. So really thinking about how you can use the Microsoft Graph to then automate all of those tasks. And I think especially for those in the room that are really interested in manageability, governance, provisioning, if you come over from the SharePoint world, that's something that is very, very important to avoid sprawl and it's kind of the decaying wasteland of teams that no one's using. So this is the tool that we're providing you guys to be able to start automating some of that. Close those. I'm not sure why I'm getting those toasts. Fourth, I mentioned earlier voice and video, right? So the communications platform, how you can start integrating calling and meeting capabilities into your Teams application. We're going to be going into that a little bit. Like I said, there's going to be a session later this afternoon that goes into that more deeply. And then lastly, the publishing. So first off, getting started. So as I mentioned earlier, decide on kind of your use case. And these are some of the examples that we've seen with our customers, some of our very large Teams customers that are a little bit further in the deployment aspect. And now they're starting to think about what additional use cases do we have for bringing in line of business applications into Teams. They could be, we see a lot of DevOps. We see a lot of employee tools like help desk, company information lookup. Those are super common. We see a lot around productivity tools, so people are bringing in sales, data visualization, reporting, document collab, and then lastly, a lot of the approvals. So people are getting a lot of this stuff in email today. You're getting approval messages saying, hey, please go approve this. You click on it, you go out to a website, you sign in, you approve, and at the end of it, you've probably lost 5 or 10 minutes of your life. So how do you start automating that and bringing that into the Teams experience? The other thing I'll mention before I show a quick example is we think about the Teams app, there's actually a bunch of different contexts that we support, right? Because these are the different contexts within the Teams product where you can get stuff done. We have team and channel, right? So people are collaborating around the shared channel, the ability for your app to go inject into that, provide notifications, provide content. So it's more of a group collaboration scenario. We also, of course, have lightweight chats, so you can create these ad hoc one-on-one and group chats with people in your organization. And so, that's another opportunity where apps can help facilitate some of that interaction through a bot or a tab. And then lastly, we also have the concept of personal views for apps, which I'll also show. Think about this as kind of an aggregation across all of the different activities in Teams. So one example we have is with Planner. You can create a plan in a channel, and you can collaborate around tasks. But some of you may or may not know, Planner also has a personal app experience that allows you to see all the tasks that have been assigned to you, and then you can manage them from one place. For some reason, I am getting notifications that I am not supposed to from this account. So bear with me 1 second. I'm going to sign out and sign back in. If I start filing a bug report in the middle of this, just bear with me. So this is actually a good segue because we're going to jump into an example with App Studio. So the first thing that I'm going to show once I get this going here is starting with kind of a very basic Hello World application, right? So you're probably thinking, what does it mean to actually start building an app for Teams? So I'm going to hop into Visual Studio, and I'm going to show, start with a web application. So the example I'm going to show is just kind of the first Hello World app. We're going to take a web application that already exists. We're going to package it. We're going to integrate with Teams, and we're going to bring that into Teams as a tab. And I'm going to show you the mechanics of that. So what we're seeing here is very, very simple website. Literally says Hello World. But I want to call out a couple of things. One is that we've brought in this JavaScript file. So the way that you integrate your tab is quite simple. You reference one of our JavaScript libraries. You bring that into your web application, and that what enables that to do is it creates a bridge between your tab and Teams when it gets hosted, because we are embedding your content. And what you'll see down here, let me zoom in a little bit, is we make some very simple calls. We initialize the content using the Microsoft Teams SDK. And then what that allows you to do is you can then access context from the outer Teams host. So in the example here, what I'm doing is I'm fetching the UPN, which is the user principal name, typically the email address. The theme, so in Teams you can specify a light or a dark theme, and then also locale. There's a host of other things you can access, like the team and channel ID that I won't show, but these are just some examples here. And then at the bottom here, what I'm doing is I'm just using a simple jQuery to render that inside of one of these divs. So I'm actually going to run this live, and I'm going to hit F5. This is going to run the ASP.NET application locally, and it's got this running. So you might be wondering, okay, but this is running localhost. How are you going to then load this inside of Teams? So I'm running a tool called ngrok. So ngrok allows you to, just if I can geek out for a second, create a secure tunnel between localhost and exposing a public endpoint. So in order to bring your content, whether it's a bot or a tab into Teams, generally you have to have your application content reachable over the internet. It can be also over a private corporate network, but in this case, I'm just going to use ngrok to make this tab endpoint available on the internet. So, to show that I'm not lying, if I plug in this URL here, type index.html, that's going to then hopefully show that same tab experience there. And just being a little bit slow. Give that a second. Come on. Does not seem to like when I hit enter. All right, let me try it in a different browser here. I have Chrome open just because I've run out of browser sessions, for those that are curious. Reconnecting, okay. 1 second. Oh, there we go. Online. Should work. There we go. Yep, so if we go back to Edge. Do that again, it should load up. But what you'll notice is, once that loads, you'll notice here that all of these sections say undefined. Well, of course, because I was trying to call the Teams SDK, initialize it, and grab the context. Right now, I'm just showing in a browser. It doesn't have the Teams context around it. So the next step is, now that you've got your application, we're actually going to go and build the Teams app package around it. So I'm going to fire up this tool. So this is called App Studio. And App Studio is actually, it's a little meta, but it's an app inside of Teams that allows you to go and define and construct apps. So let me click on this manifest editor. So one of the tools that App Studio provides is you can construct the definition of an app in the package. The Wi-Fi seems to be brutally slow, so you'll have to bear with me for a second here. Once this loads, what it'll show is all of the apps that I have registered and provisioned and declared. Try this again. Studio. The internet's a little bit slower than I would have liked right now, so that's probably why it's taking so long. Come on. Let me see if I can show the other one that I have over here. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, okay, this loaded, so that's good. All right, so while that's going, what I'll do is I will show the underlying JSON manifest. So the way that you declare one of these apps is basically you have a manifest file that is declared in JSON, and that JSON is going to point to all of the bot and tab references that you have. So let me open up one of these, and I can just show you what the JSON looks like while it's, the App Studio app is loading. So what you'll see here is a JSON file that describes that application. So, with the Hello World example, you're going to provide basic information like name, some description details. You're going to provide pointers to your tab content. And so hopefully if I go back, there we go, now it's loaded. Okay. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to go jump directly to the one that I created previously. So you saw the JSON file that had all the manual guts and details. What's cool about App Studio is that you can basically use this forms tool to go and define this. So you'll notice here that I filled out basic information like the name of the app. I've generated a GUID for it, some of the descriptions, URLs, and then you can even upload an icon. So I just uploaded the Microsoft icon. And I'm going to jump to the tab section. So I mentioned earlier that that web application that you guys saw here, we're going to go embed that inside of Teams as a tab. And the way that I did that was I just said I clicked Add a Personal tab, and then I filled out some of the basic information here. So the URL of the tab is that same URL that I showed earlier with the ngrok tool. So that's a publicly available endpoint. So I'm just going to click Save, leave that. And now, if I actually want to run this inside of Teams, the cool thing about App Studio is I don't have to take the JSON, create like a manual package, and upload it. I can just click Install from here. And then it'll ask me, if I want to install that, click Install. And then I open that up, and it'll go and show that same content. And what you're seeing here is now this time, we actually have that context filled out. You can see it grab my UPN, which is the email address I used to log in. It's got my theme, which is the default one, and then even my locale information, which is passed through from the parent container. So again, point being that to get kind of up and running with an existing web application experience is very simple. Doesn't require a lot of code changes. Really, it's just kind of integrating with that Microsoft Teams SDK and then grabbing the outer context and using that in your web app experience. We showed some of the capabilities of App Studio there. One of the other things I'll briefly mention is that With App Studio, you can also use that to manage your bot. So I'll show later a more fully formed example, but in the past, if you wanted to bring your existing bot into Teams, you had to bring in the bot ID, and it was a lot of manual copying and pasting of values. We're actually, from App Studio, you're going to be able to register and manage your bot application in AAD directly from that experience. So you actually won't even need to go back and forth and copy and paste IDs and credentials. So we'll go to the next step, connecting your existing service. So we're going to talk about how, so we did the demo. We're going to talk about how you can add an existing bot. And the one thing that I want to land here is that when we think about bots in Teams, people traditionally think about bots as having, natural language back and forth, and I have to do a whole bunch of conversational dialogue state management. One of the investments we've made in Teams specifically is this concept of messaging extensions. So with messaging extensions, under the covers, it's still very much using the bot, APIs, the Azure bot service. It's still exactly the same technology, but it's actually presenting it in a very user-friendly forms kind of interaction. And what's great about that is for users that are using things like stickers and GIFs, attaching files, they're already used to that pattern of sharing content into a conversation through the Compose box. And what we've done is we've extended that so that third-party applications and your custom applications can take advantage of that. So I'll be showing that in a second. We already talked about how you can integrate existing web application content via a tab, and you saw how easy that was. One thing that is new for Ignite this year is for those that have experience building bots, there is a new SDK coming out, which is Bot Builder v4. This is actually a pretty substantial change in terms of how you implement your bot using the server-side SDKs in Node.js or C#. There's also now support for Java and Python for Bot Builder v4. And so from a team standpoint, we are supporting those libraries because we have a lot of enhancements over on top of the basic SDKs to facilitate Teams development. So to give you an example, if you want to be able to get the people that have been mentioned in a channel, we have extensions to help make it a little bit easier to parse out and process some of those from the basic bot framework messaging activities. And so we have support now for .NET. We're rolling that, the Teams version of Bot Builder SDK out. Node.js is coming soon, and we're also talking about potentially about supporting Java and Python. So happy to answer some more questions later on about that. I mentioned earlier adaptive cards being the way that you can construct these really rich experiences with your bot. One of the things I'm really proud to say is that we have great support now across all of the Teams clients for adaptive cards. So regardless of whether your bot is sending these cards on the Teams web client, the desktop client, or iOS and Android, you're going to get that consistent look and feel across all of those. So if you look on the right here, that's actually just a real screenshot that I grabbed off of my iOS device showing that exact same bot interaction across both of those devices. This is, I'm going to show this in a second. I'm really excited about this. I think it's actually going to be a game changer. So at Build, we had a sneak preview for this feature called Task Modules. And the name might sound a little bit geeky, but what it is basically, as an app developer, if you have a bot or tab or whatever, you can now basically surface a modal dialog, a pop-up within the Teams Chrome, and surface your application content inside of that. And so we provide two options. You can surface either an adaptive card, so again, bind it to JSON, or you can actually embed your web application content. So there's a lot of really interesting use cases here. The one that I'm going to show is all about user input collection. So there's a lot of scenarios where you want to kick off a workflow or interaction, collect some user input, maybe have them go through a multi-step wizard of some sort, and then submit that interaction. There's also use cases where maybe you have a dashboard or some analytics, a richer HTML, and you want to be able to surface that from your app inside of Teams as a pop-up. We're now supporting that. I'm going to show that in just a minute. Actually, so I'll switch over now. So I'm going to Edge, actually, because some of these capabilities are pretty hot off the presses. So I'm going to start with the basic bot functionality just to kind of get folks oriented. So this is the app with the bot that I've already loaded into this Teams environment. So this is kind of a hypothetical sample app that we've written for a line of business scenario around talent management, recruiting. right? So for those that have to hire or work with recruiters, there's a lot of workflows involving candidate pipelines, creating new positions, getting a status update on the hiring pipeline, and how many candidates have applied, how many are we interviewing, and be able to drive a lot of those workflows. Now, most organizations are going to have an existing application, maybe a custom one, or they've integrated with a third-party vendor for those apps. And so the idea is, how do you kind of bring that into Teams and surface that across a variety of entry points? So the example here, this is the personal app experience. So I'm chatting directly with this bot, and I can ask it some basic questions. So I can say, what are the top candidates for some fictitious job ID here? And in a couple of seconds, once that Azure VM fires up, it should come back and respond with the information for this query. Now, this is just kind of a fictitious app, so a lot of the data on the back end is faked and we're kind of generating, but just to show you kind of the opportunity and the capabilities here. The other thing I'll mention is that we have this concept of a menu. So rather than having your end users have to remember sort of what commands your bot supports, we actually allow you to define that set of commands, and then our UI takes care of presenting that, and we also have kind of a good type down experience. So if you wanted to do new job posting, see that it auto-completes, and I can submit that. And what you're seeing here are the results from this bot. These are the adaptive cards that I was mentioning earlier, right? So what we've done is my bot is sending back a JSON payload that describes how this card should look and feel. It's got some basic form input elements, and it's got some text. It's got some, these ones have some images. We even support carousels, so you can create this kind of horizontal scrolling gallery of objects. And so, I can interact with the bot, I can ask it questions and interact in that particular context. I can also, of course, interact with it in more of a channel setting. And one of the ways I can do that is I can use that messaging extension that I mentioned earlier. So if I click on this message extension for Contoso Talent, this is that search experience that I was talking about, right? So imagine that if I'm in a conversation, I'm chatting with a bunch of people, I want to go pull up a particular position or a candidate, and I want to share that as a card, information, so that other people can then discuss and collaborate around it. And it just provides a very intuitive and easy-to-use search interface. So if I search senior, it pulls back one of the objects, and when I click on that, that'll produce a card, and I can drop that into that conversation. And so, the ability to search and quickly look up, is a very common pattern, and we think is going to be very useful if you think about, looking up from a knowledge base, pulling up a sales opportunity, looking up an incident that's happened, this kind of search pattern. But in addition to searching, you should also be able to kick off workflows. You should also be able to create an incident. You should be able to file a bug. You should be able to create a sales opportunity. And so what we've done is, and this is actually, it's coming soon, and this is why I'm showing an edge, because it's still a bleeding edge, no pun intended, is that you can actually initiate the workflow from this messaging extension. So if I click plus, and I click create position, what you're seeing here is one of those task modules that I showed earlier, right? So this is still interacting with my service, my bot on the back end. My bot is returning the card that we want to then display within this window. So you can see here that I can enter in forms very similar to the chatbot experience. But what's nice about this is that it's private just to that user that's interacting, right? So you don't have a bunch of interactions that pollute and litter the channel. It's just the user can complete their task inside of this window, hit submit, and complete it. So let's go ahead and give an example here. Director of Sales, location, I'll put Seattle, Washington, and very important sales stuff. And I'll click create posting. And now what's actually happening is every time I click one of these buttons, it's doing a back and forth interaction with my bot service. So very similar to how you would write a normal chat bot where it's back and forth with natural language, but this is very much on Rails, right? It's guiding the user through that interaction, and you don't have to worry about handling weird inputs and edge cases if the user starts asking for a joke or what the weather is. And if I click confirm posting, the bot is responding with a special kind of response that says, okay, this interaction's done. Here is the card. Here is the result of that workflow that you just did. And I hit enter, and it posts that into the conversation. And so really the way to think about this is it's very much an evolution of the chatbot experience, but it's bringing it into a UI-based paradigm that users are going to be familiar with, and you don't have to retrain them, you don't have to teach them how to speak sort of natural language to a bot agent. But under the covers, from a technology standpoint, it's all the same investment. So just to dive in, peek a little bit into how we brought this into that application, we go back to my App Studio here. Hopefully it loads a little bit faster this time. And I'm going to click on Contoso Talent. So this is that app that you just saw, and here's the full definition for it in terms of the app package. So you notice that the name, the unique ID, description, and then these are the icons that you saw show up in the product. We also have some tabs included that I'll show later that you can actually automate via graph in terms of pinning. And then the bot. So you can notice here, this is the bot ID, the one that's registered in the Azure Bot Services. You can also manage the endpoint from within App Studio. I'm not going to show that, but that's another thing you can do from within App Studio. And then these are the commands that you saw earlier pop up in that one-on-one chat experience. And then, of course, with the messaging extension, you can see here that these are the different messaging extension search and create commands that I demoed. So let's bring it back here. Make sure I showed everything I wanted to. So this is, I think, will be useful for a lot of folks that, we have a lot of integration points, a lot of capabilities in the platform. So this is just kind of a cheat sheet sort of summary of, when you would use one versus the other, what are some of the benefits. So you saw with the chatbot, there's a nice natural language interface. And, in some cases, it's going to make sense, right? So if you're on your phone, you're on the go, and you want to say, new expense report for today, right? That's a very kind of natural language utterance. You don't really want to force the user through complex UI, and so that's where bots can play a really helpful and significant role. With the messaging extension, you saw the more structured UI-based version of that. And then tabs, of course, the ability to collaborate around content and channels. I didn't go into the connector much, but a very prevalent scenario or use case is to be able to drive notifications into channels with cards. And so the connector is basically a very simple webhook-based integration pattern for bringing card content into teams and channels. Talked about adaptive cards and the flexible layout. And you saw with the task module, which is going to be available in developer preview very soon, the ability to create those really rich custom dialogues. And then the last piece I'll mention is that, and I mentioned this earlier, is that there are, of course, cases where you want to build something from scratch. You want to build a very customized thing. But you're also going to have cases where you want to connect your existing investments with SharePoint as an example. You might want to take your existing bot connected into Teams, even Flow and Power Apps. So Flow actually has a Teams connector that to date has only posted messages into Teams, but they're actually enhancing that connector, and now it's going to support things like a trigger for when a message is sent within a particular channel or if I'm @mentioned. So there's actually a lot of interesting workflows that you can create using Microsoft Flow without necessarily having to write code. So I encourage you guys to check that out as well. I mentioned briefly, with SharePoint, and this is also a really big deal. So lots of customers, lots of partners have invested substantially in the SharePoint framework, right? I mean, this is kind of the go-to for anyone that has a large-scale SharePoint deployment. They're going to have these custom web parts. They're going to have, a custom report or a library kind of component. And we want to make sure that you can take those existing investments and bring those into Teams without having to write new code. So one of the things I'm super excited about, it's coming to developer preview very soon, is every SharePoint framework web part is going to be supported as a tab in Teams with no coding whatsoever. You're going to be able to bring that in. You're going to put that into your app package, the manifest, and we're just going to make sure that all of that plumbing and that wiring is taken care of. And so, yeah. It's the reaction I was hoping for. So to show you I'm not lying, going back into Teams. So this was built by one of our MVP partners, actually in the front row here. And this is a web part that was built using the SharePoint framework for basically like a shift assignment, a bed assignment scenario within a hospital, right? So you have this web part that shows within a particular hospital ward all of the different beds, the different stations, and it allows the end user to interact with this web part and actually assign shifts basically to different people. So I can click on one of these, And you'll notice here that I can set some properties, and I can assign to a particular person on the team. I think we have a John Doe in here, not to get too morbid. Click Submit. And so, the main things that I want to highlight is it's super powerful because if you're using the SharePoint framework, it means that you are hosting your code in SharePoint. You don't have to go and host your stuff in Azure and worry about spinning up separate deployments. You can take advantage of the SharePoint framework's controls, libraries, the ability to access SharePoint and Graph APIs in a secure, authenticated manner. You'll notice that when I clicked on one of these forms, it had that people picker experience. So then from a UX implementation standpoint, you don't have to build a lot of these things from scratch the same way that you necessarily would if you rolled your own web application to deploy into Azure. So there's a lot of great benefits of actually leveraging the SharePoint framework to do this. And so this is one example. And just to kind of go into just a little bit more, the way that it works is the SharePoint framework package that you would normally upload to the app catalog in your SharePoint site, basically through the Yeoman tool that you use to generate the template for those things, it now also spits out the Teams app package. And then what you do is you take that Teams app package, you sideload it into Teams, and then it'll show up as an app that anyone in that organization can use. And so there's no coding work involved, really. It's just kind of stitching things together. And what's also cool is that through the JavaScript interface that you use to build your web part, we also now bring along the Teams context. So it's one of those things where, if you want to make your experience aware that it's in Teams, and potentially surface up a custom, different visuals or different themes, or maybe a different experience that's targeted towards Teams and channels, you can do that as well, but really it's optional. Let's go back here. So the next part that I want to talk about, we get a lot of questions around Graph and how you can connect Microsoft Graph and take advantage of our APIs for Teams and channels and lifecycle automation. So I'm going to show some cool stuff there. So, if you're familiar with Graph, you'll know that it's got basically all of these different Microsoft 365 endpoints for mail, calendar, sites, people, groups, devices, activities, so on and so forth. And so what we've invested in a ton over the last several months and quarters is bringing the Teams context and workload into the Microsoft Graph as well. So the ability to manage teams and channels, of course, membership, but also a few new things, the ability to programmatically manage the tenant app catalog, which we'll see in a minute, the ability to add and remove apps in Teams, right? So if you're provisioning a team automatically and you say, hey, we really want these 3 apps to be installed, and we want to go pin these 5 tabs, you'll be able to do that programmatically. I'm going to show that in a second. And then threads and messages. So this comes up so much, and I'm really excited about this. You can finally query all of the conversations, all of the messages out of those channels. So if you want to archive, if you want to build an experience on your website to render some of those conversations and show some of the recent activities in a channel, you'll now be able to do that. So this is that life cycle that I was talking about, right? So starting with creating a team. Again, from a manageability and governance standpoint, yes, you might want to allow users to create teams however they want and sort of let them have at it, or you might want to have a little bit more control. Maybe you have a central portal that end users go to, click a button and say, I want to create this team. Here's the kind of team that I want to create. Here's my scenario. And then you might apply templates to go and provision that team with a specific set of parameters. And so now you can do that. You can install LOB apps, and you can configure those tabs, as I mentioned. So really getting all of that context within that team set up. And as people collaborate around that team on an ongoing basis, using those same APIs to manage permissions and membership, adding and removing channels as necessary. And then lastly, maybe if that team is kind of died down, it's toward the end of its lifespan, you can mark it as archived programmatically. You can read out the channel messages, and so we'll show that. So without further ado, let me hop over here into, Visual Studio Code. And what I'm going to show is a very basic script that we've created, and zoom into it a bit more. So these are just some parameters that we define up front. So we're going to connect to a particular account. This is the same account that I just demoed out of Teams. This is a location of an app package, the same app that I showed earlier, and we're actually going to load that programmatically into the LOB app catalog. We've got some other predefined parameters for automating that team and channel creation and adding members. And then you'll notice down here, this is where we start to actually call the Teams PowerShell commandlets. So all those graph APIs, we have very convenient, easy to use PowerShell commandlets that wrap them. And in some cases, what's nice about those PowerShell commandlets is it sometimes aggregates multiple calls. So for those that have experimented with the create team scenario, it's actually creating a group and then adding a team to that group, and it's sort of a couple different calls. So what's nice about PowerShell is that it wraps that into a single call. So you can notice here that we're going to go through a bunch of these individual steps. And so let me go into PowerShell. So I'm going to run this demo script here, and then actually let me have Teams on the right side so you guys can see the output in real time. It's kind of annoying because we have this flyout thing. So I'll run that. Promise it's not going to spread a virus on my PC. So this first one, connect Microsoft Teams, that's just obtaining the token locally so that it can have that graph access token to access the APIs. I'll hit enter. The script is just waiting for a new line. So you can notice here it's obtained the credentials. So I've already logged in on this PC. That's why I don't have to do that sign-in experience. And so the first step is it's creating one of those teams, new recruiting team. Hit enter. And that call, when it succeeds, is going to go create one of these teams. So you can notice here it showed up, recruiting team. The next step is we're going to add a few users to it. So we're going to add Alan, and Christy, and Adele. If you go to general here, you'll notice that it showed that those users have been added to the team as well. And now we're going to add a couple of channels. So again, real time, you'll see that I've added those channels. I can go and favorite those. Actually, it gets favorited automatically. And then this next step is cool. So we've taken that app package, that zip package, and now it's going to programmatically load that into the tenant app catalog, and it's going to make that available for everyone in the organization. So that's the first step. And now what will happen is if I go to the store, and you'll notice we have this Contoso category. So this is the entry point in the Teams UI to go to that tenant app catalog. These are all the apps that have been published by my organization for me. And there might be a little bit of a delay, so let me run the next one. This next step, what it's going to do is it's then going to take that team that we just created, and it's going to install the app that we published to the catalog into that team and make it available for the users in that team so they don't have to install it. Teams General, you'll notice here, you'll see that we've installed the app, Contoso Talent, and because the Contoso Talent app on my back end, the bot service actually responds to being added to a team and posts a welcome message to let folks know that it's there and it can be used. So that's why this message showed up. And then the next couple of steps, we're going to programmatically pin a couple tabs. So this is another new API to allow you to basically perform CRUD operations on the tabs within a channel. So I'm going to run both of these. And now if I click on this new candidates, expand this up, you'll notice that we have this tenant app tab. So this is just a name that I configured in the PowerShell script. You can call it whatever you want. And what's cool is that we actually offer a couple different ways to pin tabs programmatically. One is this concept of a sort of a pre-configured or pre-pinned state. So what it's done is it's pinned the tab and said it hasn't been configured yet, but we want that basically placeholder to be there. And then as an end user, if I click on Setup tab, what I can do now is I can complete the rest of that configuration. So this experience in here is the same tab configuration experience I would get if I went to this and I clicked on Contoso Talent myself. But what's nice about pre-pinning is then as an end user, they can see, oh yeah, there's a thing here. So that's one way you can do that. The other way is that if you know the URL of the tab that you're going to pin, you can actually include that in the payload of your request, and then that way, when the user clicks on the tab, everything's already set up. So you have a couple of different options in terms of how you want to drive that automation forward. The last part I'll show with the Graph APIs is querying channel messages. So I mentioned that earlier. So hop into Graph Explorer here. And I've already got the request up here. And just to kind of orient folks around this request, let me zoom into that a bit more. So it's under the beta endpoint. for now, the query channel messages. And what I'm doing is I am referencing a specific team. So you can see the team ID here. I'm referencing a specific channel, because again, I'm reading all the messages out of this individual channel. And then you can do a few things. So I'm going to actually remove this part. And I'm going to hit Run Query. Give that a couple seconds. And on the back end, it's basically fetching all of that message information. So you go in here. Zoom in a bit more for folks. It's not ideal. So you can see here all the metadata of those messages, right? So you have the obvious properties. So this is a collection, it's an array of these message objects, and each message has, what type it is, timestamp information, who the sender is, so you can actually get, the sender identity. In this case, this was actually a connector that posted this message. So what's cool about this API is it returns not only user-generated messages, but also ones that bots and connectors generated. That way you get all of the information from the channel. And then you have the body content. So I'll give you an example of one of the user messages. So you can see here that in this example, Nestor Wilkie posted a message, and you get that full HTML content of that message that you can process out. And so what's great about this is, whether you're doing sort of archiving or you want to build an experience that sucks those messages out for real-time processing, like one of the some of the cool scenarios we've talked about is you could actually now build automated bridges between channels, so you can have a service that's listening to everything and polling on one channel, and then you can use those messages to drive automation. So maybe you're listening for a specific keyword, regular expression, maybe you want to automatically forward that into some other context. You can now start to do some of those things. And again, the flow connector is actually enhanced now to use this API so that you can do some of those things without writing code. You can just connect the flow connector to some of the other services and processes that you use. So there's a lot that we've done with the Graph APIs. This is just kind of a summary of what's available. One thing I will call out is that very shortly, we're going to be taking everything that's been baking in the beta endpoint, and we're going to be bringing that to production under v1.0. Yeah. No, it's good, right? A lot of our customers and partners have said, well, we don't want to take a dependency on these APIs because we're worried it's going to change. We're going to have to rewrite all of our code because you guys are going to take one of these things away. So to put those fears to ease, the main thing we want to say is we're committed to bringing those to 1.0. So you can take a production dependency. You can use them for mission-critical scenarios and workloads. And in addition, some of those new APIs that we just showed around apps, tabs, and querying messages, those are still available. Some of them are coming to beta. The query channel messages is already in beta. That's why I was able to run that off the Graph Explorer. And then, of course, over time, we're going to be bringing those through to v1.0 as well. Now, this is what you can do today. Obviously, we're continuing to invest in the Graph. And as customer demand comes through, as requests come through, we're going to be making sure that we keep up with those. Oh. One other thing I'll mention, actually. So from an authentication standpoint, when you call the Graph, with the script that I showed, I was calling that in the user context. So with Graph, there's a couple different authentication models. With user context, it's basically there's a logged-in user, and those operations are performed on behalf of that user. Right? So in that case, I was logged in as a tenant admin. So I was able to run commands for fairly elevated permissions. On the other hand, we are also going to be releasing the support for app context. So basically, you can run kind of in a headless mode. And then that application performs all of those operations just kind of using its app ID. It's not necessarily trying to impersonate a user. And what's great about that is, and I had some customers ask me about the scenario in the booths, there'll be cases where they want to write scripts and they want to manage teams without being a part of that team. And they might want to add channels or manage members without having to have that logged-in admin user be a member of those teams. And so with app context, you're going to be able to do those things. Yeah. I wasn't expecting this much applause, so this is great. So this is just that querying channel messages API that I showed a little bit earlier. Again, this is actually already documented on the Graph documentation under the beta endpoint, so you guys can go and check that out. But the other thing I'll mention is that we've spent a long time making sure that that payload really contains everything. We're throwing the kitchen sink, and you decide how you want to consume it. So this includes all of the attachments. So if there was a file attachment, that SharePoint reference would be there. all of the user mentions, reactions, so likes. In the future, we're actually supporting emoji reactions, so that'll be in there as well. The next step is around adding comms. So I'm going to go through this fairly quickly because, again, there is a session covering this in detail, and I cannot do it any kind of justice in 5 minutes. But really, the way to think about this is, under the Microsoft Graph, we are enabling a new set of endpoints to facilitate real-time communications, calling, meetings, voice, and video. And so for those that have come from Skype for Business, you might have integrated and used some of the UC APIs, UCMA, UCAP APIs that were available for Skype for Business on-prem and online. Bringing those forward, we've actually kind of re-envisioned how those APIs work in more of a RESTful manner within the graph. But we've also made sure that we're not creating a whole bunch of back and forth API calls and interactions. So it's I think pretty remarkable kind of how this works with the graph endpoint, because traditionally for all the other workloads it's been very sort of basic REST calls and CRUD operations. So what can you kind of do with this? So there's 2 high-level categories of scenarios that we already have customers and partners. Right now it's in TAP, but this is actually coming to developer preview very, very soon. It's going to be fully documented. Anyone can start using this with Teams. But when we think about the scenarios, there's a couple. One is bots, and the other is sort of these cloud services on the back end. So with bots, it's pretty straightforward. You can have, just like that chatbot that I showed earlier, you can enable it for calling, and you can actually go call and terminate audio media on the other side and have it return back real-time audio and media. And there's SDKs to help facilitate that if you're implementing your bot in .NET. And then with cloud services, so there was a session, I think it was yesterday, about CVI, Cloud Video Interop. And basically what this is a service that runs in the cloud that uses these same APIs, the platform APIs, to enable bridging third-party devices from Polycom, Pexip, and BlueJeans. So those existing room devices and meeting devices, and actually connecting those into Teams meetings. So for customers that have invested a lot of money in those vendors and that hardware, they're going to be supported, and you'll be able to dial into Teams meetings through those devices. And the way that works is through the same platform APIs that we're talking about here. So again, there is a breakout session this afternoon at 4 o'clock, BRK2463, that my excellent colleague Andy is going to be deep diving on this topic on. So in terms of some of the capabilities, actually I'll jump to the next slide because I think it gives a good overview. So from a calling standpoint, these are basically some of the workflows that you can perform: receiving calls, answering, initiating a call. And then from a meeting standpoint, be able to join into that meeting, but also automate, the participants and be able to pull in participants. So we've seen some really cool examples around things like incident management, where, you have that workflow that, for those taking pictures, I'll just go to the end of it, then you get the whole thing. You'll be able to create these workflows that are multimodal, not only having that chatbot interaction with notifications and cards, but also then be able to initiate meetings, pull people in. If you need to escalate, you need to create a dial-in bridge for the service engineers, the live site engineers that are on call to be able to participate in those. And then lastly, to be able to do some of these IVR, response scenarios. So, if you're creating like a help desk support type thing, users be able to dial in, and then using DTMF, being able to select different options. So all of that signal coming through that set of APIs. So from a development standpoint, it's obviously a little bit more complicated than building, a chatbot, because a lot of this stuff, it's stateless and stateful, depending on the different components. From a call state manager perspective, we have SDKs in C# to help facilitate some of these things, make it a little bit easier. But I tried to spend about an hour working through one of the media samples, and it was interesting. I'll leave it at that. But I do encourage folks to look into it, because I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity, and you can do some really cool stuff. So I'll just do one very quick demo on this. Again, I won't have as much to show as I would like, but going back to Teams here, and I'm going to go to a specific bot that I was interacting with. So this is a very simple demo bot called the TalkBot, and basically the way we have it set up is there's a service running in Azure that is providing all the compute and is receiving the call and then playing back audio media in real time. And we've basically just flipped a toggle that says this bot is calling enabled, and that's why this button here is showing up. And if I press on that, I'm not sure if the audio is going to necessarily come through. Yeah, you can hear that. It might take...
You have successfully contacted the emergency services bot. If you have a life-threatening medical emergency, please contact the emergency services or go to your nearest hospital.
It's a little morbid. So it's not necessarily the happiest scenario to show, but I think it kind of gets the point across in terms of the opportunity there and what you can do with the overall platform. So again, it's not just kind of the traditional extensibility that you've seen with bots and tabs, but now extending that to media, to audio and video, and there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can envision doing with the platform there. So the last step here is around publishing and managing. As I mentioned earlier, there's a couple options here. So now that you have your app and you've created this rich experience for your end users, how do you get it into their hands? So one is, of course, with the Teams App Store. So if you have a registered account with the Microsoft Seller Dashboard, you can basically publish your app package. It'll be ingested, and then once approved by Microsoft, it'll then just show up in the Microsoft Teams Store that I showed earlier, as well as AppSource. So AppSource is kind of a top-level, website, marketing website that features all of the partner and ISV-built solutions for Microsoft across all the different workloads. So you submit your app, and it'll show up in both of those places. And then secondly, I think is maybe a little bit more relevant for folks in this audience, which is the tenant app catalog, right? So I showed earlier how you can use the Graph API to automate publishing into that. But what's cool is that you can actually just do it from within Teams as well. So you don't necessarily have to do automation. And some of our customers have done this because if you only have a few of these things, then it's a lot easier to just kind of manage it through the UI. So in this case in Teams, I'm logged in as the tenant administrator for this demo tenant. You can see here that we have a bunch of these fictitious apps here for benefits, help desk, new employee onboarding, sales. And you'll notice here this Contoso talent. So this was the app that the API earlier called and uploaded. And as a tenant admin, I can update or delete these. If I click update, basically I can submit a package with a new version. If I change some of the strings, descriptions, change the icon or logo, I can do that here, and I click update. And what's cool is that in terms of that workflow, the Teams product, the system takes care of, sort of blasting that out to all the end users so that they're getting the latest and greatest. So if you change the icon for your app, you don't have to worry about, is it going to take 2 months for this thing to change and propagate to all of my end users? Of course, I can also upload a new one. So I have a couple options here. I can upload for my entire organization, so that would publish into this catalog. I can also just upload for myself or my teams. And if I click that option, it's basically like a developer sort of side-loading type of experience. And so, yeah, pretty straightforward. One other thing I'll show too is more on the management side. So for those that are interested in terms of how do you manage Teams apps, how do you make sure that you can control basically which apps are enabled or disabled for your end users. So this is the Office 365 Admin Center. This is the Teams Blade, which some of you might know we are migrating to the new modern Skype for Business and Teams Admin Center. So right now, managing apps and third-party apps is within this experience, but we're going to be migrating this over to the new modern Admin Center, and it's actually going to unlock a whole slew of new policies and manageability options. But for now, you can come in here and you can see we have a few different categories. We have default apps, which are basically ones built by Microsoft. We have the ones that are the company apps. So again, the same ones that you saw in this category here show up in the admin center. So what you can do is you can enable, disable them here. If maybe you want to keep the app in the catalog, but you don't actually want to enable it for end users. And then down here, you can see these are all of the third-party apps that are in the store. Once we move over to the modern admin center, you're going to be able to specify much more granular policies on these things. So right now, if you check that box, it's going to take effect for the entire organization, every single user. That's obviously not nearly granular enough for our customers. You might want to enable just Jenkins CI connector for only the engineers, and you want to enable, Dynamics 365 app that's coming up for your sales organization. So very soon you'll be able to assign that policy more on to individual users. So just a quick screenshot of how we envision that management experience to start looking in the modern admin center. So there's going to be a way for you to, like I mentioned, control which users get which apps, both external and internal. There's also going to be the concept of app setup. So if you've built an app and you've published it in your catalog, it's great, but then from a discovery standpoint, what a lot of our customers are asking is, well, could we pin it to the app bar? Can we make it, there present on the left, the same way that we show activity, chat, Teams, calling, meetings, files? And so that's a feature that, we're going to be enabling for our customers in the near future. So you can actually not only build and package and deploy, but also pre-configure those so that end users just kind of get it right out of the box and they don't have to go hunt for it. One of the big areas of feedback we've gotten is that side loading, which is the ability for an end user in the organization to take any app package. So I was able to go into my tenant and just upload a zip package and start using that app. Obviously, a lot of folks want to lock that down a lot more for their organization. Right now, that toggle is, again, sort of at the tenant level, so it's either on or off for everyone. We know that's extremely limiting. So we are working on, again, moving that to a user-based policy so then you can create a policy and assign that to individual users. And then lastly, analytics. To be able to not only audit, but to see how your apps are doing, right? So you build an app and it's got all these great features and capabilities, but you want to understand, are people actually clicking on it? Are they going to it? Are they using it? Are they using third-party apps? We've just enabled Trello and Azure DevOps and these things, and are people actually taking advantage of those things? So providing that insight is absolutely something we want to go invest deeply in. This is a quick summary slide. Everyone usually loves these. We did this at Build, and people, whipped out their cameras. So this is kind of a summary of some of the things that we've talked about today in terms of highlights and announcements. So the things at the top are things that we recently released, kind of in between Build and Ignite. So the tenant app catalog, the ability to publish your apps, that went to general availability. The ability to have multiple messaging extension queries. The ability for your chatbot to actually send and receive files in one-on-one. That's something that we've started to see some cool scenarios around. And then new this quarter, just to kind of quickly recap some of the graph announcements that we talked about going to 1.0, as well as the new beta APIs, the calling and meeting platform going to developer preview, super exciting. SharePoint integration, of course, that's something we're working hard with the SharePoint team on to get that out and have folks starting to work with. And then some of the new capabilities that we saw with task module, adaptive cards now being generally available across Teams on the web, desktop, and mobile. And then lastly, the Bot Builder 4.0 support. Oh, and the Teams App Studio, some of those improvements that we saw. So just talking about some of the other Teams platform sessions that might be useful. So we had a couple already. If you didn't get a chance to see them, I do encourage you to maybe check out the live stream. So there was a session on managing your application. So when I talked about kind of some of the graph APIs, publishing to the line of business catalog, and some of the policy, that session actually went in a lot deeper on it. That was yesterday. We had a session on cloud video interop for those that are interested in that and its customer benefits. The overview session was yesterday. And then some of the ones that are coming up, we have a deep dive on the SharePoint framework later this afternoon. And some of those integrations that we saw earlier between SharePoint and Teams platforms, and bringing not only your SPFX web part into Teams, but also taking your Teams tab and making that available in SharePoint. So it kind of goes both directions. There's going to be a session this afternoon at 4 o'clock. I encourage you guys to check that out. 45-minute session on programmable voice and video and the calling platform. There's also going to be a theater session tomorrow where I'm going to have one of our MVPs do kind of a quick overview of how you can take your SPFX solution, bring it to Teams. So it's going to be a quick 20-minute session on that one. And I'll just kind of leave it there and open it up for questions. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this and have got some useful out of it. Thank you. You guys are tired of clapping. There's too much applause. Feel free to, if you have any questions, you can use the mics on the side. We've got about another 10 minutes, so don't be shy.
I do have a question.
Oh, yeah, please use a mic I think they're still live streaming it.
Okay. This may be a little bit out of the Teams realm, but with regards to e-discovery and being able to search, you did talk about being able to search through Teams content. Could we discover in there some ways? There's some integration.
Yeah. So my understanding on that is, so all the Teams conversations today already go into Exchange, as well as a lot of the other user interactions, creating teams, adding people into teams and channels. A lot of that signal is already captured. And I believe if you go to the Office 365 Security and Compliance Center, a lot of that is already accessible through some of those tools, the auditing tools. So I'm not an expert in that topic, but I think a lot of that is already available. Yeah, so something to check out.
My question is mostly around what you showed at the beginning. So you were
Sure.
running that app on localhost,
Yeah.
and you used a bridge in order to pull it into Teams. My company hosts all of our applications internally. Is there a way to push apps into Teams that we host internally?
Yeah, it's a great question. So for on-prem, tabs actually will work if your end user is on the corporate network, because it can already access those resources if you go out to the browser. With bots, it gets a little bit trickier, and I would say that we're investing in a better story, but there are some options today. So if you can do kind of a gateway proxy-like solution, the thing is that with the way that bots work today, you have to have a publicly reachable endpoint over the internet that the bot service, Azure Bot Service, can call into to post a message. We're looking at providing other ways of facilitating that, so it's maybe more client-initiated as sort of an incoming connection. And that's something that hopefully we'll have a little bit more to share in the coming months.
Okay, but if the user's on network, they can still access a tab application.
For the tab, it's fine. Yeah, the bot, like I said, is the one that gets a little bit trickier.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I'm the one who made all the noise from the back when you mentioned application permissions.
Yeah.
Been waiting on that. And then also with the life cycle management you're showing. I know that's just going to go into beta, but how soon can we expect to see the?
Well, the Graph APIs for team and channel management, those are going to roll into 1.0 very, very soon. So the new APIs around programmatically like adding apps and pinning tabs, that stuff is going to be in beta for a little while longer. The app permissions management from the modern admin center is something that is probably going to be in the coming months. We're going to be rolling out as we light up those options in the modern admin center, and then we kind of deprecate what's in the existing O365 tenant settings.
And what about the application permissions in the Graph API?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So that'll be, I believe, available in beta shortly. I don't know if that also, or because it's not new APIs per se, but it's just a different auth mode. The thing that I'm not 100% sure on is whether that's going to go straight to 1.0 with the other APIs, or whether that's going to go into beta. If it does go into beta, I think because we don't have anything in 1.0, it's kind of like this first time we want to make sure we get our critical mass right and we get them into 1.0 with high confidence. Once we get that initial set in, I think the lead time between what's in beta and what's in 1.0 is going to be more like a couple of months, maybe a quarter. So even then, it's not going to be a substantial amount of time. Yep.
Hi, thank you. Can you say something about the timeline of this user-specific site loading and app policies? When it's
Yeah, so that's kind of related to some of the other app policies that we were talking about, so enabling, disabling apps, and moving that into modern admin center. So it's going to be kind of around the time frame, and I think it's going to be probably the next couple of quarters that stuff's going to be rolling out.
okay? Great, thank you.
Yep.
Question on the tabs. Is there any plans for a custom tab to be the default tab that a user sees when they come into a channel?
So rather than have it be conversations, files, you wanted to basically have potentially your tab be the first one?
Yes.
Yeah. So this has actually come up quite a bit, and it's not something that our team is actively working on right now, but I think I've heard enough over the last couple of days that I do want to go back to the team and say, hey, I think this is something we need to prioritize. I think from an engineering standpoint, it's not tremendously challenging. It's just something that we haven't prioritized yet.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great feedback.
Thanks for the session. A bit of a tactical question. Today, is there a way to programmatically pin a messaging extension below the message box?
Not yet. but that's actually a pretty cool scenario, and yeah, that should definitely be something that we look into. I think you'll be able to do it from a policy management aspect, because as I mentioned earlier, we want to enable the admin to pre-configure, pre-set up apps with them on an admin center. I think it makes a lot of sense to also provide APIs to automate doing the same thing.
Okay.
So, but that's a great point actually. It's something we should look into.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hey. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So telehealth is, I think, with some of the challenges that even though we'll have the APIs, what we don't have today is kind of well, there's web, but also I think sort of an embedded solution or a client that you can just kind of, with Skype for Business, we had those pieces. The most I can say now is we recognize that's a key scenario that we're not supporting right now. We are, I would say, going to be investing more in that area in the coming months. So I think you're going to hear more from us, and as we get closer and we're looking at TAP and expanding, the partners that we're working with. I didn't mention your company, but you might be one of them already. Yeah, but it could be something where we can bring you into the early TAP as one of our partners and look at using the platform. Because so that's one my colleague that I mentioned is doing the session later this afternoon, and Andy Bybee. Actually, I encourage you to attend that one because I think that'll be super relevant for. It's 4 o'clock. Let me go back a couple slides. This one, yeah. So it's BRK2463, programmable voice and video, and I think you should definitely connect after the session. But like I said, so he's actually going to be leading that effort, and I think, like I said, it's going to be something we invest a lot more in. Yeah, he's definitely the right expert to talk to about that. Yeah, thank you. Slides. I think they should generally be made available for every session. Leave me your contact info. We'll see if I can do it. I have to check if I'm allowed to or how the policy works on some of that stuff, but. I think, yeah, I generally don't know how quickly they make them available after the sessions. I mean, it should be soon, but I don't know if they have to do some cleanup or scrubbing or something. Yeah, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You should be able to find me there. Hi. Mm-hmm. 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 We were able to send simple alerts from them using a URL with an incoming webhook. API yeah. Yeah, so the one that we do have that I think will be pretty easy to get up and running, I'll show it to you right now, is we have this concept of an incoming webhook. So if I click on one of these connectors, there is an incoming custom webhook connector. Let me just search for it, actually. Oh, it's right here, yeah. And it's very similar to the one in Slack, basically. Just put in the name of the webhook. It's taking a couple seconds. It's slow. But when you... There's something weird going on with my client right here. So actually, let me use the one in the browser. That one was a little bit more well-behaved. That's why I had to log out and log back in. It was not part of the demo script. But what you'll see is you can basically, at the end of it, you just get a URL that you can then directly post into. And then you just post basically the rich card JSON. So you can put in, very similar to what I showed with the bot interaction. So you notice how I came through this on a particular channel? So then it automatically is scoped to that channel. So if I say like test connector, and then you can even upload the image and customize if you wanted to. And if I click create, it'll just give me, it'll spit back out that URL that you can directly post into this one right here. Yeah, and then there's documentation online about the format as well for how you can create the JSON. Yeah.
One more thing that we were missing, sort of missing from Slack,
Mhm.
the for notifications.
Yeah.
Do you know about that? Like don't disturb it.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely on the team's radar. I don't know off the top of my head if that's something that's coming soon, but you know, a lot of people certainly within the team have talked about. In general, I think our notification controls are pretty lackluster right now. So yeah, I think that's an area we're going to be investing in a lot more. We have now a pretty healthy team that's working in that area, so I think we're going to see more from them. Yeah, some of the things we. Right. I think actually it's because I didn't have quiet hours on. That's why. So that'll help. Yeah, of course.